The HiFiMan RE2000 Silver, the wired earphones, are the best universal fitting earphones I've ever heard, and still to this date there's nothing that's dethroned them. Now, when HiFiMan sent me their latest TWS800 True Wireless earbuds, which are very much based on the topology diaphragm of the same RE2000 Silver, I was very much intrigued to see how these earphones would compare. Now, at the time of making this video, these earphones can be found for around $300. You can find them on HiFiMan store, and the appropriate links will be down in the description below. Also down there you'll find a link to my Instagram, and yes, that's a shameless plug. It's at TotallyDubbed if you use that social media platform. And furthermore, if you're interested in all electric or hybrid cars, do check out Totally EV. Your support would be greatly appreciated. So let's first start off and talk about what you get inside the box. Well, you've got a nice selection of silicone tips. Unfortunately, in my sample I didn't have any compli foam tips. There's a USB Type-C to Type-A cable for charging. It's nice to see actually a carrying case, and it's the same that's included in the other HiFiMan products, but it's nice to see that. And then you've got the actual earphones themselves. Now, they come in a pretty shiny case, to say the least. Now, the case itself can be charged via USB Type-C. It's got no wireless charging as far as I'm aware. Now, in terms of its size, you can see that in comparison to some of its competitors, it is pretty large. It is also pretty chunky as well, so therefore it's not exactly the most portable case in the world. I'm not exactly a fan of the Sennheiser one over here, so I'm definitely not a fan of the large size of this this case. The reason behind the size of it, aside from the amount of battery it holds, is because they hold these massive earphones that are going to comprise inside. Now, just before talking about the earbuds themselves, let's talk about the case. Now, the case itself provides 27 hours of extra battery life. The earphones themselves last around 4.5 hours, which is pretty short given the fact that they have no active noise cancellation built in, so that's just connected over Bluetooth. Speaking about connectivity, by the way, I'll get onto that in just a bit, but they have only the AAC and SBC codecs only, which is pretty disappointing. Now, in terms of the earphones, they weigh around 6.9 grams each, which is pretty lightweight to say the least. However, it's not as light as some of its competitors, and the case itself also weighs around 57.7 grams, which is again not bad given the size of the thing. Now, the earphones themselves have a pretty chunky design. If you just see the size of that in comparison to, let's say, the Jabra Elite 75T, you can see that the TWS800 are far larger, even in comparison to something like the Sennheiser True Wireless 2 or Momentum True Wireless 2. You can see again that the size of the earphones is, well, nowhere near in comparison how big the TWS800 are. Now, regardless of its competitors, I'll say the TWS800 also have got a very glossy and shiny look. This glossy and shiny look is, well, some people will love it, some people will hate it. In my opinion, I think it's just a bit too, well, blingy. I'm not real a fan of that, but of course your mileage may vary. You might actually like this really silverish design. Now, the actual silver plates themselves serve a purpose. They're also touch sensitive pads where if you double tap it or triple tap it or long press it, you'll get different functions. Let's say play and pause and skip and previous and activating your voice assistant. However, the problem is that the touchpads themselves are just not that sensitive, and therefore means that you'll be frantically tapping away at the pads to have no response. While the Sennheiser earbuds are not exactly the best in this domain, they're far superior in terms of touch sensitivity, while the Jabra earbuds rely on actual physical buttons, which make for a far better and far superior experience when it comes to using the earphones. So what I'm trying to say over here is the TWS800 are just not great when it comes to controls wirelessly, therefore not having to rely on your phone. And finally, just a small little note, when it comes to actually practicality, when you get the earphones out of your ears, they'll look like this, but when you place them, you'll have to turn them around full 360 in order for them to fit, which can be a little bit counterintuitive when it comes to using them, but just something I thought to mention. Whereas in comparison to its competitors, where let's say you get these earphones out, you're going to pop them as if you got them out. Just a small little note there, but something that might annoy some people. And now we get on to performance. Now, everything you can hear right now is coming directly from the TWS800 and recorded via an app. What you will potentially hear, and if you agree with me or not, is the fact that the overall voice, in terms of my own voice, sounds quite muffled and just seems a little bit pushed back. it just doesn't sound as lifelike and as accurate as it should do.
By comparison, here are the Jabra Elite 75T, one of the better sounding earbuds when it comes to recording quality. Hopefully you'll agree with me that the 75T are just far superior sounding than the TWS800.
And now we get on to the most important part, the sound quality. Now before jumping in this, I do want to mention in terms of Bluetooth codec support. They support the AAC and SBC codecs only. At this price range, and furthermore given that this is really aimed at audiophiles, it's very much surprising not to see the aptX or aptX HD or even the LDAC codec supported. I am just pretty disappointed in this domain given that a lot of its competitors, specifically at this price, will offer more superior, well, far superior codec support, and furthermore for audiophiles this will mean in terms of the loss of transmission that you get over Bluetooth is actually a little bit heard given the fact that limited to the AAC codec at their very best sort of quality. Now when it comes to its actual raw performance, here I was looking to see if it would compare to the RE2000 Silver, which I mentioned before. Granted, these are wired earphones, but I plugged them directly to my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus just to see how the internal DAC would sound. Normally I plug them via my dedicated DAC. Now here I can tell you straight off the bat there are no comparison to the TWS800. In other words, the RE2000 Silver are in a completely different league and just put these TWS800s to a complete shame. Now forget about wired earphones, let's really be frank and compare them to equivalent true wireless earbuds. Now I've reviewed in excess of 60 different earbuds, and the ones I've got right here on my hand are the Sennheiser True Wireless Momentum 2 and the Jabra Elite 75T. True fantastic earphones for their own particular domains, specifically with the Sennheiser in terms of their audio quality, because we're talking about audiophile earphones here. Now here the TWS800 can't compete with either of those earphones, so let me explain why. First off, let's break it down in terms of sound frequencies, the sub-bass tones. Now the sub-bass tones are just not really there. You can change the tips and you can change them to compli foam tips and you'll get a little bit more bass and oomph into it. However, in comparison to, let's say, the wired RE2000 Silver, which really extend beautifully into the low-end tones, this is really not the case with the TWS800. You'll get more of a sort of cut-off. As for the mid-bass, it sounds a little bit wobbly and a little bit faint. It's just not as punchy as one might expect from these type of earphones, specifically in terms of HiFiMan's overall sound signature, which is a little bit more V-shaped. Speaking about V-shape, the mids are recessed and pushed back. Again, the same couldn't be said about the somewhat flat-sounding RE2000 Silver. While they also have a little bit of warmth to them, the TWS800 kind of wants to sound like a neutral earphone, and as a result just completely drowns out the mids. Just doesn't come across great when it comes to listening to vocals. As for the highs, they do extend relatively well, but they do sound cut off at the top end. Again, comparing them to its sibling, or I refrain to say actually sibling because the RE2000 Silver are on a completely different league. The wired earphones provide that high-end extension, and to some ears might even sound a touch harsh or a touch sibilant. Not to mine, but I just thought to relay some experience that I read off online. In the TWS800, they just sound a little bit cut off and lack that kind of zing that you get at the top end. In comparison to its competitors, its true wireless competitors shall I say, these earphones can't compete with, let's say, the Sennheiser Momentums or even the Jabra Elite 75T, which actually sound a bit too sibilant and harsh at the top end, whereby with a little bit of EQ you can tone out that harshness, making them sound actually pretty pleasant. So the TWS800 in this domain just don't compete throughout the frequency range. So hopefully the soundstage would kind of be its saving grace. Unfortunately, that's again not quite the case. They sound a little bit closed and a little bit weird sounding, to say the least. Again, this kind of neutral sound tries to be portrayed, but the overall soundstage is, well, feels a little bit closed off. You don't really get that beautiful instrument separation that you get on the RE2000 Silver. You don't really get that sense of, well, you're in front of the artist listening to their music. Instead, you get somewhat of a closed soundstage, the instrument separation that's kind of lackluster, and again, truthfully, just don't get a great overall experience. Honestly, I am pretty shocked and disappointed at the TWS800. Now, while it is an improvement over HiFiMan's TWS600, that isn't really something to be applauded. I'm not really sure what HiFiMan are doing over here. I really love some of their products. I've given their products even awards. The For example, the RE400i 2020 variant, incredible headphones. The Diva Bluetooth variant, unbelievable. Sundara, again, absolutely fantastic. The J2. But the TWS800 and the TWS600 are, well, quite frankly, a laughable product inclusion in terms of the HiFiMan line. Let's put it this way. If someone comes to HiFiMan's product for the first time, they've seen audiophiles raving about these, which I don't want to name sites, but you know what I might be thinking about, raving about such earphones, and someone comes to buy these for the first time, having potentially heard some sort of flagship true wireless earbuds in the market. They come and question themselves as to what is audio all about when the TWS800 is raved about by minute audiophiles. And then you think to yourself, some customers buying these earphones will never touch a HiFiMan product ever again. It's really unbelievably... I can't quite stress it enough. It actually kind of angers me that the fact that someone might buy these and will never try these earphones ever in their life because they were so shambolically disappointed by the TWS800. I just think HiFiMan really need to go back to the drawing board, or even contact me and say, let's develop some earphones together or something. The TWS800 are just not it. And if you are looking for true wireless earbuds, check them down in the description below, as I've referenced quite a few in the past, but the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2 would be my pick if you're an audiophile, if you really want a more overall rounded experience and you don't want the utmost echelons of sound quality, but you want fantastic recording quality, ANC as well, given a recent update, then the Jabra 75T or even the Libratone Track Air Plus would be my top picks. So that's my honest, unbiased, unpaid review. And yes, I am someone who'd consider themselves as an audio enthusiast who loves playing around with audio and has reviewed over 300 audio-related devices. But that's not to say every audio product is perfect, and the TWS800 are certainly not it. But let me know in the comments below what you think. I might get some flame from audiophiles or indeed HiFiMan lovers, but I'll be just intrigued to hear your thoughts. If you like this type of content, you want to see more unbiased, unpaid, honest reviews, give it a like, subscribe to see more, and favourite and share. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed, take care, and bye bye.